Hey everyone, good evening. Got the kids to bed early, got showered, I'm ready to go. Hope all of you are staying safe and healthy and getting the support you need and supporting those who need your help. Thank you to all you essential workers out there. Really important what you're doing for us right now, and we greatly appreciate it. So today I'm going to talk about the 5 stages that kids learn about money. And chances are you're probably putting one a little bit too soon in the process. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is these 5 stages. So if you think about it, and this is not only applies to kids, but sometimes this can also apply to you as an adult or to some of your friends or maybe some siblings, right? Never us, maybe our siblings. So when we're talking about stages that kids need to learn about money, 5 stages. Stage 1, things cost money. Okay, so what does this look like? So let's just say, and I'll kind of give you some anecdotes about what my kids did along the way too. So again, I have 3 kids, Charlie, George, Nina. They're 10, 8, and 3. And we've been having our 2 older ones learning about money for 4 or 5 years now. My wife and I have been doing stuff with them, and it's going really well. So stage 1, again, things cost money. All right. So this is the idea with this is, you're walking through Target or Walmart or some store, and your kid says, "Oh, I want that, I want that, I want this. Oh, buy me that Spider-Man toy, or buy me that Barbie doll, or that princess, or whatever." And they don't understand that that stuff actually doesn't belong to you. They feel like sometimes they can just take what they want with no repercussions. And of course, age appropriate, right? Now, if you're 55 or 60 and you think you can take stuff without paying for it, well, that's a little bit more of a problem, right? So things cost money. The way that this looks is when you walk into the store, like when we go to Target or whatever to buy stuff for the house, we would actually deliberately walk our kids through the toy aisle, right? Because if they walk through the toy aisle, they're going to want stuff. And what we would do is we would point out to our kids when they say, ooh, I want that, I want that, I want that. We'd say, well, that costs money. Right now, that belongs to the store. We have to take it up to the register and pay for it. This thing costs money. And they may not understand what money is at that point in time. Totally fine, right? They don't have to understand the concept of money. But the idea is that in order to get something, you need to give someone else something in return. That's really stage 1 of money development, okay? Stage 2 comes when money is finite. So we all have limited funds, right? Doesn't matter how wealthy you are, we all have limited funds. So the question is, but sometimes money can feel unlimited, and to kids, they go into a toy store, they want that Lego set, or they want that princess toy, and then they want 5 dozen other things, right? But we can't just buy everything that we want. We only have a limited amount of funds available. So when we're bringing our kids into understanding that money is finite, this is where you start maybe an allowance or what we call learning money, right? So you start to give the kids money and they have a limited amount to spend, and they start maybe trying to spend it on their own, but they can't just buy everything in the store. If they have $5, they can't buy a $40 Lego set. Money is finite. That's stage number 2. Okay, so stage number 3 is that kids need to make a choice. So because things cost money and money is finite, 1 and 2, step 3 is that you got to make choices. Now, parents, be very careful about this, because a lot of times we use the word afford. And when kids hear the word afford, we can't afford that. It actually is kind of scary for kids to hear that word, can't afford it. They think, oh my gosh, are we in financial trouble? And you may or may not be, but either way, we don't want kids who are, maybe elementary school age understanding that kind of stuff yet, especially when they're in the younger grades. Maybe as they're in the older grades, they can understand that kind of stuff. So, but we have to make choices. So let's say that your kid goes into the store and they have $5. Okay, they can't just buy, again, that $40 Lego set. They probably can't buy most toys in stores for $5. Maybe you can get some gum or something like that these days. So, okay. So, sorry, I think I disconnected for a second there. Okay, so we have to make choices with our money. So don't use the word afford. We have to make a choice. Okay, so for example, if a kid drives by a car and they say, "Wow, that car looks really nice. That must be expensive. Can we buy that?" Don't use the words "we can't afford that." Say, "Well, we make different choices in our family, or we have to make a different choice. That car, if we chose to buy that car, then we would have to choose not to have other things in our lives that we might need or want." Okay? So use the word choice instead of afford. That's stage 3 of money. Okay? And the way that this works out with our kids with their learning money or their allowance is that, let's just say that they have $20, right? They've been saving up, they have $20 and they bring it into the store. Okay? They can either buy one toy or they can buy like 3 smaller toys. Okay, but they can't have the 3 smaller toys and the bigger toy. They have to make a choice. Because why? Because money is finite. We don't have unlimited funds. Doesn't matter how rich you are, unless you're Jeff Bezos. But he's got a lot going on there. Anyway, so the kids start to make choices, and what these choices help the kids understand is that some things are important to them, some things are necessary to them, and some things aren't. Okay, so when you're giving your kids learning money or allowance, you want to let them make their choices. Okay, with $5 here or $10 there for the kids, if they make the choice to buy something, really don't get in their way. Just let them do it. We've all seen the fads that go by. There were like those squishy things, and then there were like the fidget spinners, and then Pokemon cards. I'm not going in order, but these are all the things that our kids have spent money on over time. And what they start to realize is that, if I choose to buy this, then I can't choose to buy that. Okay? So what happens is this: sometimes we think as adults that we can have it all, but we can't. We have to make choices. And the kids, the earlier that they learn that they have to make choices with their money, the better off they'll be as they get older. Okay? So that's step 3. Okay, step 4 is, this is really important, and a lot of us adults maybe need to work on this too. Step 4 is delayed gratification. Okay? So you can have it, but you can't have it now. You have to save up for that. So this is where the savings comes in. So when we first started our kids with learning money, we had the 3 separate buckets: spend, save, donate, right? And at first we had our kids have to split them equally into each of those buckets. And then as they aged, we said, okay, let's you have to put at least $1 in each bucket, and then you can choose where the rest of the money goes. So what the kids started doing is they started putting all their money in their spend. And just so you know, sidebar, with allowance, the amount of allowance that you give kids, you have to give them enough where they can actually do something with it. You can't give kids quarters these days and expect them to learn anything about money. So if you're giving a kid an allowance of a quarter or 50 cents, you're really not doing them any good. So the rule of thumb that we use is that we give them $1 a week per their age. So 10-year-old gets $10 a week, 8-year-old gets $8 a week. Now this might sound like a lot of money, okay? And it kind of is, but we don't buy anything discretionary for our kids anymore unless it's their birthdays or holidays. Even if like Charlie wants some gum, like he has to buy the gum himself. If the boys want like a Switch game, they have to save up for the Switch. And the idea with this delayed gratification is when they want video game systems, these video games are expensive. 2DSs or 3DSs, those are like $100+. The games are like $50, right? So the idea is that if a kid wants to buy a video game, that and I have boys, so I apologize for those of you who have daughters. I have a 3-year-old daughter, but I'm not as familiar with the toys that they're buying these days. But anyway, if they want to buy a video game, that's $50. Well, if my oldest one is getting $10 a week, he's putting $1 into each bucket and $8 into the other bucket, or $7 extra into the other buckets. It's going to take him about a month and a half or 2 months to save up for a video game. All right, so that's where the delayed gratification is. And on their save list, they have to write down what they want before, and it has to sit on their board for a week until they can use their save money. So they can't just all of a sudden say they have enough money in their save money and they say, oh, now I want a video game, or now I want that Lego set. They have to write it down and wait a week. Okay, that's delayed gratification. With money, it's really, really important that now that we know that things cost money, money is finite, we have to make choices. Sometimes we have to wait for the things we want. Okay? So those are the first 4 steps. Now stage 5 of learning about money are the things that people put way, way, way too early. Okay? Way, way, way too early. And this is the idea here. This is a very, very important concept and something that all people need to learn. And so stage number 5 is that you earn money through working. Okay? So money comes from work. What a lot of people do is they put the work before all these other lessons. So even if I'm giving my oldest, who's 10 years old, $10 a week, and we're not buying anything discretionary for him at this amount of time, if he went out and got a job or set up a lemonade stand or did something like that, he can make a lot more money than we're giving him a week. And that's where If he really wants to ramp up what he wants to buy and save for and donate, then that's where the work comes in. Okay, so here's why putting money into tying money to work too early is a big problem. All right, so 3 kids, right? Believe it or not all 3 of my kids are alike. Those of you who have multiple kids or grew up in families with multiple siblings, chances are you see money differently or you act differently than your other siblings, right? And if you're an only child, then chances are you've seen your parents and aunts and uncles deal with things differently, right? We're all different people. So the idea here is that when you put work before understanding money is finite, it takes choices, you always have a kid who isn't motivated by money, okay? So what happens is what people start doing with their allowance when their kids are early elementary school age is they start saying, you got to do your chores or else you don't get your money. Well, if the kids don't understand what money can buy them, or if they don't care about money, if they don't really want things in general, well, then they're like, that's okay, I'm just not going to do my work. And then you're up a creek, right? Where do you go from there? You can't say, well, do it because I said so. Well, I mean, no, but it's tied to my allowance. Well, sorry, you're not getting your allowance. Well, I don't care. I don't want anything. Okay, great. So the idea is that once kids start learning that they can buy things with money and that they have to make choices and that they have a limited amount, they will start to want to work to earn more money to buy things at a faster pace or buy things that are more expensive that they really want, okay? So just to recap the 5 stages, and I have some other thoughts, okay? Stage 1 of teaching kids about money is they have to know that things cost money. When you buy something, there's an exchange there, right? You don't just get to take whatever you want. Stage 2 is that money is finite. We can't just buy everything in Target or everything in Walmart or everything on Amazon, right? We don't have unlimited funds. Stage 3 is that we have to make choices, right? Money is finite. We have to choose. Do we want to buy the Lego set or do we want to buy the Switch game? We can't have both, okay? Stage 4 is delayed gratification. So you have to work your way up. You have to take some time between when you recognize you want something and when you can actually buy it and it becomes yours, okay? And then step 5 is that money comes from work, from adding value to people. So, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with the work component, actually. In fact, my kids and I think it was like last summer, we did a lemonade stand, and the kids had chocolate chip cookies, they had sugar cookies, which were bigger, and they had lemonade. So they actually had to take their money from their spend bucket and save bucket, and they actually had to purchase the materials for the lemonade stand. So we had a table, but I'm talking cups, the lemonade powder. They had to buy the cookie dough. And one of the interesting things was, they were trying to think about how much money they had to spend. And because they had to account for cups, they could buy less cookies to bake. And they actually wanted to buy the fresh baked ones, the store baked ones. But when they saw how much it cost per cookie, they realized that making it on their own was actually better for them. So anyway, working for money. So they were out there, and what they realized is that, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but they learned that the money that comes from making a lemonade stand has nothing to do with the lemonade. It has to do with having a smile on your face, and actually the cookies made more money for them than the lemonade did. So anyway, this is all the stuff that kids can learn when they understand that money comes from work. And when they set up their own kind of things, they learn about customer service, looking people in the eye, saying thank you, being very welcoming and warming. All this stuff is really, really important for kids to learn. In fact, I feel like almost everybody should have a job in the service industry where they have to greet customers, help customers, find their needs and make that happen. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, you can either write them in the comments. If you have any questions about these stages or how my family and we do the allowance, or what we call learning money, how the buckets work. But I promise you, if you use these stages and you put these in this order, your kids are going to see great results. In fact, my son Charlie made a very, very astute observation where he was putting $1 in his donate, $1 in his save, and he put everything else in his spend. Well, with the spend money, he could spend whatever he wanted whenever he wanted. There's no delayed gratification. The spend money is like money in the wallet, right? And he was trying to save up for something at the time. I think it was probably like a fidget spinner, right? It was a couple of years ago. And he realized that he the savings was going like really, really slow because he kept on spending his spend money. And he made a very astute observation. He said, Dad, I think I'm going to start putting $8. I'm going to start putting $6. I think it was 8 at the time. Start putting $1 in my donate, $1 in my spend, and $6 in my save. Because when I have money in my spend bucket, I keep spending it. But if I put it in my save, I can't spend it. And so I'll be able to save up faster. These are the kind of lessons that kids need to learn early on, so that when they become adults, when they're looking at major decisions like going to college, when they're looking at major decisions like buying a car, or the kind of job that they want, it's really, really important that they get these skills early, right? Now, the other thing that we have to do is we have to set good examples, parents. And this is the hard thing to do because we've worked hard. We've had decent careers. I've graduated college, I think 19 years ago. In fact, today is my 19th year after graduating college. So my wife and I have been earning money for a long time, and we've been able to have good habits and accumulate money. So, but when our kids see stuff happening all the time and the choices that we make with our money, no matter what we teach them, they're going to be rubbing off on what we do. Okay, so now's a perfect time. We're all kind of stuck at home with each other as families. You don't have to start the conversation about money and kind of gauge where your kids are at. Do they understand that things cost money? Do they understand the concept of making choices with money, right? Do they understand that money is finite? Do they understand delayed gratification? Do they understand, and after all that, you got to do it in order. And so start talking to them and start feeling out where they are. Now, the other thing you can do is start relaying your money values, okay? So my wife and I, fortunately, we're on the same page. We have some pretty aligned money values with where our money is important to spend, For example, some more, I guess, classically considered material things like cars and clothes. It's important for us to have something that's decent, but we're not like going overboard with that kind of stuff. Anytime we get a package from Amazon, for the most part, it happens to be home goods. So the kids used to get really excited when they'd see Amazon boxes because they're used to seeing them come for their birthdays from their relatives and stuff. And when they're like, "Oh, Dad, what did you get?" It's like, "Oh, I got some all-purpose cleaner. Got some laundry detergent." They're like, "Oh, that's no fun." But in any case, whatever your values are, it's not for me or anyone else to tell you how you should raise your kids or how you should be spending your money. But what I'm trying to do is help you start that conversation and start thinking about how you want your kids to handle money as they get older. And the earlier you start on this stuff, the better. But take your time. So we've been doing this learning money allowance thing with our kids, I think, for 4, maybe 5 years now. And it's taken us a while to get through these stages. So do things that are age appropriate. You know your kids better than anyone else. If they're in the younger ages, I wouldn't really go much past, stage 4 of delayed gratification. You want to make sure that they're understanding these concepts of making choices. You're going to want to know that they're understanding all these concepts about money, that it's an exchange of value, right? Then you can start bringing them along. Anyway, so just to recap the 5 stages, stage 1 of teaching your kids about money is that things cost money. And I gave the example of, going through Target, deliberately going through the toy section and letting the kids see the stuff and say, "Oh, that we're not buying that right now. That costs money and that's not what we're here for." But understanding that there's an exchange, okay? Step 2, again, is money is finite. We can't just buy everything in Target. We can't buy this and this and this and this and this. I shouldn't say we can't. We're not going to buy this stuff, okay? Stage 3 is making choices, right? Money is finite, so we have to make a choice. We can't, if we only have $10 to spend, we can't buy this and this and this and this. We can only buy this or this, okay? Stage 4, delayed gratification, making sure that they understand the concept that you have to work up and save money in order to get something that you want that's more expensive. And stage 5, again, the one that people put way, way too early, is that money comes from work and adding value. So again, don't add in the work, because if your kid isn't motivated by money or they're not motivated by buying things, then adding work in too early is not going to be all that helpful. You're going to lose them that early. So bring the work in after. It's a way, once they understand what money can buy them, that they can then accelerate the amount of money that they earn, and they can also accelerate how quickly they get there to their savings goals. Okay? So hope this was helpful. Hope you all are being healthy and safe and everything, and that you're all making do here. If you have any questions, like I said, comments, if you want to hear anything more about what we're doing with learning money, if you want to learn more about how to raise kids with money, put them in the comments below or DM me. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. This is what I do for a living, as well as what I do for fun with my family. So have a good night, everybody. Miss you all. Happy to see some familiar faces on here. And thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Good night.